I know a lot of people appreciated that. Most people in my own family probably appreciated that. I've had a rough couple weeks with whatever this flu cold thing is. Thank you for the well wishes. My energy's coming back if you couldn't tell. Voice is coming back. I'm still going to need some timeouts to do my little trick behind the curtain. And I promise you, I'm not ripping lines to get more energy. I'm blowing my nose. I don't want to make you see it. Okay? But a lot of people reached out. Listen, I'm fine. It's just whatever that seasonal stuff is. And you just can't have a radio show and you can't think, you can't see it, you can't talk. So I don't know what's going around, but everybody I know has it. And I just hope everybody stays safe. It's not COVID. I felt like it. I tested. It wasn't COVID. I'm over there sweating and shivering at the same time. It was a mess. It was a mess. But the energy's back. We have a lot to go over. I appreciate everybody being here. I know this people didn't know after the regular season. Are we still going to do this? What are we going to do? We're going to play it by ear as we have relevant topics and then build that up to the bowl game and then do a regular week for that. So that's the short term. And then when we get through the bowl game, we'll figure it out. But as long as you guys are engaged, we could find topics to go over. And that's some of what we're going to do today. So welcome in, everybody. We got a couple people on the line. We're going to go through the roll call introduction and we'll get this going. We'll just play it by ear. I don't know how long we're going to go. We'll just see what happens and I'll get out what I need to, give you your time, and we'll go from there. Chat, calls, we could do both. We could do one, whatever you guys want to do. It's your show. I'm just here to keep it on the road. That's the thing, you guys. This is your show. I'm just here to keep it on the road. YouTube, you're there, obviously. Go ahead and hit subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up. That helps in the search algorithm. I appreciate that as well. Notifications on, and you know why. That way you're alerted every time a new episode drops. You don't want to miss it, do you? Twitter, search bar, always Irish, or at always Irish Inc. That's how I gauge if I'm feeling better, how deep I could go when I go at. That's my health gauge, okay? Emails, always irishandy@gmail.com. Audio only, anywhere you want me, you could get me. Call in line, folks, 312-900-8815. So there's a few things to talk about, big picture stuff that I want to go over, and we'll see where we go from there. All right, so I see Dr. John here. Dr. John on the line. I'll get to you right away, my friend. Let's go through roll call and a couple of the early chats. Matt Radke, great guy, really nice family in the Nashville area, loves Notre Dame. Met him at the Blue and Gold or the Cal game, something. Great guy. I like the CFP agreement. We essentially get a home playoff game most years instead of playing in a conference championship game. I'll take that all day. So that's obviously one of the topics we're going to go over. So I have a few things, all right? Conference championship week. What do you think about that? I've seen a couple of comments there. What do you make of the new playoff arrangement agreement taking place in 2024 for a 12-teamer? What do you make of where Notre Dame falls in that ecosystem? Is it a good deal for them? Is it a bad deal for them? Do you feel like they have more flexibility now and that's good to get in? On the flip side, do you feel like it's asking like 2012, all you had to do is beat one team, play good against Bama one night, you're champs. Now you're going to have to play good a bunch of weeks in a row to do it. How do you balance that out? Positive, negative. There's a lot to consider. And I want to know how you grade Freeman, regular season year one. Just give me a letter grade. A, B, C, D. I really am open to learning how you're thinking of this, how you're seeing this, how it's hitting you, how you feel considering all the moving factors Notre Dame's dealt with this year. What's that letter grade for this guy year one? I am very interested. You could rationalize that a bunch of different ways. I really think you could pick a grade and then find a reason for it if you wanted to. It's a very interesting social experiment to me. And I'm interested to see where you guys fall on that. So if it's just a letter grade, put it in a chat. If you want to call and explain your reasoning, do that too. So we could do whatever you want to do. Matt, thanks for being here. Pat's always here. Morning, John. Happy Friday. Don't know if I could break away from work to chat. Either way, hope you're feeling better. Nice guy. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that. Bass and Domer, another 23 recruit yesterday. Love those wide receivers from Texas. Listen, I believe the wide receiver room at Notre Dame is going to turn from a glaring weakness into a strength in about 2 seasons. They are putting in work. They know that is an area of dire need. They know that's an area they've been behind the 8 ball on. They know it hasn't been good enough. They know the results haven't been good enough. You know what else makes me laugh? We ran Dell Alexander out of town. He's out of his new job already, 1 year into it. So I don't know what that guy's deal is. Maybe this job isn't for you. He lasted 1 year at his new gig and he's out of there. So, but that group, I truly believe, is going to be flipped from a weakness to a strength with depth and athletes in about 2 cycles. They're doing a good job there. The other thing is, Chancey Stuckey's a really strong communicator, and he's a very communicative teacher. That's very important because Notre Dame's going to need young guys to contribute in this area early in their careers. That's where it's important you have a guy that's going to be a good teacher, and Chancey Stuckey is. So trending up in that area for sure. The big question you all have and I have is, can Notre Dame maintain this momentum to the finish line in this recruiting class without losing big pieces, any more big pieces? Keeley's a big piece. Bowen's a big piece. That's where I'm at. I love seeing us up there to top 2 or 3 on whatever side it is. I want to make sure these things stick. Okay? They got to stick. But so far, so good. Hard not to love 23 and 24. Here we go. Sharky, thanks a lot. Always looking forward for my daily dose of always Irish. Happy to be here. Happy to be upright. You know what I'm going to admit to you guys? I'm almost happy I felt like crap for the Notre Dame USC game. It helped mute me. It helped tone me down because I was so out of sorts and not feeling well. I didn't have my normal energy watching that game. I'm glad. I am thankful I did not have my normal level of anxiety and energy I had for that game. Wow. Like, woof. Angela Rudiger, good to see you here. I always say it. It's good to have a Rudiger. Here we go, Pat. Bound for the Cheez-It Bowl since the Marshall loss. Can't wait. Does everybody get free Cheez-Its? You know what? Let me give you guys a little secret about Cheez-Its. If you're going down the Cheez-Its path, the best ones, I believe, are like the reduced fat regular Cheez-Its. They are not as greasy as the originals, but it's the original flavor, but it's more crispy and doesn't have that greasy taste. So if we're doing Cheez-Its, original but reduced fat, I think they're called, extra crispy without that greasy taste. The other thing is, this reminds me of when we went to the Camping World Bowl. And on Twitter, all I put is the GIF of the Snuggie commercial of that lame dork family sitting in a fake wood setup with a tent for the Camping World Bowl, and they have their Snuggie, and they're all dancing around the campfire. It was just so offensive to me that we do this whole Notre Dame football and the brand and everything, and I end up in the Camping World Bowl playing for a trophy of a tent nobody cares about. Like, I just can't. Give me a break, man. Give me a break. That Camping World Bowl got me. I just couldn't handle it. Savvy GG, good to see you here. Good morning. Kent, I said it before. I'm going to say it again. Kent, I respect you as a man. I do. And I consider us friends, Kent. We've never met. I consider you a friend. I want to meet you next year in South Bend and we crack a few lids together. All right? Crack a couple cold ones. I respect Kent. Full on Ohio State. He had a rough weekend. We had a rough weekend. And you know where Kent was? Right here Monday morning talking about it. That is respectable, Kent. And Kent, you would be surprised how many people in my family and Twitter and everywhere else reached out to me last weekend and said, I hope Kent shows up. It'd be the right thing to do. I think he will. And I said, I'm sure he will. He's a man of honor. He isn't going to run from what happened to Ohio State. He's going to own it. Here you are, Kent. I love you for it, man. I love you for it. Oh, Mark, it's really good to be back, man. Getting out of the routine, even for a day, irritates me. It just throws me off. It makes me uncomfortable. Angela likes the shirt. This was anybody who watched my USC documentary from the Bush Push. I mentioned being there with a friend and he died young at 22 and all that. This is his jersey. And after he died, his parents cleaned out his stuff and said, we know he would want you to have this jersey. Means a lot to me. So every once in a while, I put this on when I need a little boost. It's something you can't buy. I've never seen another one of these. Jaded, good to see you here, Jaded. Josh, thanks for the kind words. Oh, Indy Dan, good morning, John. I'm looking forward to the next month of activities. You know what? Me too, in a way, because it's out of the normal game-to-game routine, and that allows you an opportunity to sit back and think of things a little differently without the immediacy of like it's game week and then it's gone and there's another one. Like this is a good period here for us to do a couple things at once as Notre Dame folks. Number one, get excited that we get to see our guys play one more time, figure out what that matchup's going to be, and then start breaking it down. That's number one. Number two is the recruiting stuff still going well, and we're going to follow that. That's exciting too, coming down to the stretch of the early period. And so that's exciting. But then the other thing is now you can take a step back and really start analyzing this entire season body of work overall, start taking big picture things from it. Start thinking about what Freeman might adjust or do next. Like, this is a very interesting window now with a lot of movement and a lot to keep in mind, okay? Here we go. We got a couple grades, and then we're going to get right to the phone calls. I'm almost done with the chats. Dr. John, 707-737 coming up. Pat gives it a C. I get it. And the reason I would get if somebody gave it a C is for this reason. Mark says the Marshall and Stanford games are inexcusable. So if you were going to say this is a C job by Marcus, an average job, I would imagine you're figuring on the high end, you have the Clemson output, right? On the high end. And then you got, North Carolina, BYU, Syracuse, whatever, good games against upper middle tier opponents. I would say none of them are great. They're not Ohio State, USC, Clemson level. Good performances there. But what has to weight that average down? I don't care what roster you inherit. I blame Kelly for the roster in a lot of areas, why the quarterback room is where it is, all of it. Receiver, what he allowed to happen there. I blame Kelly to a certain extent for all those issues he left Freeman with. At the same time, doesn't matter. You don't lose to Marshall and Stanford at home when you're 17 or more favorites. Nope. You can't do it, dog. Marcus, I love you. I love you. I love every outfit you wear. I love you. You can't do that. So if you give him a C for that, I'm imagining that's your rationale. You're balancing out that very, very high end, but there were very, very low ends. Okay. Here's about where I'm at. Is that B- territory. I agree that I had us dropping one stupid game we shouldn't lose. Before the season, I said that. I think we'll drop one game we shouldn't lose off the radar game because of it's a new head coach tax almost is how I looked at it. Almost a new head coaching tax where you got to pay a fee. You can't just run in here and do this easy for a first-time head coach. We ended up with two of them, and it couldn't be those two, and it couldn't look the way it looked. So on the flip side, though, at the time, that Clemson win meant a lot. We needed the Clemson win. It was a win, the style of which we never saw under Kelly. I understand it is going to be downgraded now in quality because Clemson has real issues, and Clemson is not what they were in 2018 and Lawrence and all that. They are not. They have issues. But when we played them, they were undefeated, top four. It was a big deal. Notre Dame was leaking oil down the road. The rubber on the tire was burning off. You needed to put out the flames, and they did it, and they played great. So that's how I balance it. In one more inexcusable or two more inexcusable losses, he accomplished a high, though, I never saw Kelly do. Kelly never had a win against a team ranked in the top 5 that looked like a dominant, convincing win. Whether that team was overrated or underrated or appropriately rated, Kelly never got that kind of performance ever. And I weight that high. because it's the one thing I wanted to see from Freeman more than anything else is the Freeman factor. Finding a way to get the group to play better than you think they should in the biggest moments. You got it against Clemson. You didn't get it against USC, and that's a whole different ball of wax. But at least I got one in year one that makes me see that that's possible. More impressive win than I ever saw Kelly get in Notre Dame. You can't name one more where we played that good against top 5 team. It doesn't exist. Does not exist. To me, the most impressive win in the Kelly era is probably Oklahoma 2012. Halloween weekend going to their place. And even that game was a lot closer than it looked. And then the score at the end looked a lot more lopsided. That's probably his best win to me because it was on the road and you were undefeated with everything to play for and you beat them. And it ended up not looking close. 31-13, 70, something like that. That was a long time ago, folks. So you got one of those out of Freeman early. I appreciate that. So I'm B-C. B-C. I could go C+. Inherited a flawed roster. Injured quarterback and a backup he didn't recruit. Very tough schedule this year compared to the last few. Great win over Clemson, but it's getting dinged. You know, Marshall and Stanford can't happen. I'll average it all out. Brian, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. I do feel a little better. Man, I'm telling you, 20 minutes ago, I just had this conversation, Josh. He allowed the linebackers to regress, and that's alarming considering his position. I literally just talked to my dad about the linebacking group 20 minutes ago, saying we think it should be a youth movement next year. Let all those young athletic guys run around. Let them, because I am not getting the production I need. I'm not getting the crispness I need. Guys are not where they need to be. That group has underperformed underperformed all year. And it's quite concerning, actually. Now, wait a second, Mark. I got to take issue with this. If this was BK, we'd all be calling for his head. Be fair. Yeah, because it would be BK's, 12th or 13th year here. He should have it more figured out than a guy on his first year. Those are not the same thing at all. Those are not the same thing at all. If it was BK, we'd all be calling for his head. Yeah, of course. It's 12 years on the job. You should have it all figured out by now. And if you don't, it's a big red flag. I cannot compare that to a guy in his first head coaching year. Those are completely different bars of what you have to do to get a passing grade. Yeah, I would expect way more out of Kelly. Way more experience and way more experience here. And it's all the guys he recruited and developed. So yeah, I would expect more out of him. That is apples and oranges. Totally apples and oranges. I do not view those the same at all. Freeman was always going to get more flexibility for me this year for all the reasons I mentioned. Year one learning curve, roster he didn't inherit, quarterbacks he didn't pick. All of those big problems he had to work with. Not the same thing. So maybe I'm not getting what you're saying, but you're damn right I'd be coming at Kelly hard. You can't lose to Marshall and Stanford if you're 12 years into this. No, and you can't do it if you're in year one, but there's at least reasons why it would happen, is what I'm saying. Mikey Poles, good morning. Kirk Alton, I give Freeman a B, not only for his coaching, but embracing the students and culture while bringing in strong recruits. Kirk, that's a very well-rounded way to look at it. I'm not going to lie. Freeman's personality and the way he makes his job about Notre Dame and not his ego means a lot to me. And everybody who does that tends to do well at Notre Dame. And the head guys that make it about their ego and about them tend to not do it well, and things turn sour for them at Notre Dame. All right? It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Here we go. We're going to go to the phone calls next. Carkle, hard to give him a grade. He's not playing, but with his guys. But if I'm forced, a B+. Let's see what happens year 3 when he's got his guys in there. Anything less than an A- in year 3, we're in trouble. I'm down with that. I agree with that. That would give him time to get his recruits in there and get a quarterback that he wants in there going. What's very interesting to think about, folks, is what if He's got a couple more years to flip the roster. He's got to figure out how to be a better head coach, figure out some of those nuances, right? Say you have that going on. In a few years, he should be further down that road. The roster should be more in Freeman's image, not Kelly's. And then that lines up with one of the topics we wanted to talk about today, the playoff and the expanded playoff. This could all time out to be very exciting for Notre Dame. Freeman's got a couple more years, flip that roster, work the transfer portal if Notre Dame will allow him. And I know there's stuff going on behind the scenes with more flexibility. Like there's some of that out there that they're figuring out ways to be more flexible. That's out there behind the scenes. I've seen it. I've read it. I've been told it. That's encouraging. You might notice some stuff coming up in that regard. So line that all up. He's got a couple more years. Hammer's more comfortable as head coach. Get your guys. And then we're in this new playoff. That could be an exciting window for Notre Dame, 24-25 entering into there. Will I be around to see it? Who knows? Couple more performances like a USC. I might not even make it that long. It's rough. Jaded, definitely a C. He failed to oversee the development of the quarterbacks. Pro, he held the team together, and some stars were born. Con execution. Yeah, I get it. I get it. But it's like he failed to oversee the development of the quarterbacks. How much did you want Marcus Freeman to do with that? Like, he didn't pick him, and he's not an offensive guy. But if you want to blame him for letting Reese do that, fine, like whatever. And then we ended up with the backup. It's all so complicated because it's just not a clean slate. It just isn't. Look at this coming at me. I think the show was better when we couldn't see your face. The old school show where I just yelled. And everybody was wondering, what does this lunatic look like? And then I started doing the videos and everybody was like, that's not what I thought you would look like. I don't know what people thought I'd look like. Kent, I got you, man. I respect you. We're on the same wavelength, Kent. You're my dog. You know that. I mean that. I feel like I know you, Kent. I do. Hike Daily, you're the best, John. I mean, I don't know about that, but I'll take it. I will take it. What is this? McNamara to Iowa? Did that just happen or I missed it? I didn't get on Twitter this morning. He must really want to lose 5 or 6 games next year is what Mikey says. Alan Kinder, best Notre Dame podcast on the internet. Seriously, I didn't even pay Alan to come say that. I appreciate that. Oh, man. Here we go. All right. I'm going to blow my nose, and then we'll get to the calls. I promise you guys, I'm not going to rip lines. I am just still congested. I need 10 seconds, and then we'll get it going on the calls. Don't go anywhere. Entertain yourselves. God, I hate doing that. I hate doing that so much. I feel like white trash. I just do. I just don't know how else to handle it, folks. All right, I'm going to save some of these comments and we're going to get to a couple calls. These people are waiting. I'll come back to all these comments. Dr. John. Are you there? Hello? Dr. John? I don't know what happened, Dr. John. I'm going to call a search party. You better call me back. 707, unless I'm having a phone line problem. Do I got you? Hello?
Hello?
Hi, do I got you?
I'm not Dr. John. I'm Joe Long.
There we go. Gotcha. Yeah, Dr. John dropped off. You're 707, correct?
Correct.
Beautiful. What's on your mind, my friend? We got a lot to cover here. What's on your mind this week? Thanks for calling.
There's a whole lot to cover, but I think we have a whole off season to do that too. So that's a good thing because, you do have the best show, and you give everybody a chance to talk. So that's the way it is, and I'm appreciative.
Thank you.
But the thing is, you talked a little bit about the upcoming playoffs. I think we better get to that as soon as possible, because the way the season's going, you get the first game or two, people don't really count because it's so early in the season. And then come bowl game time, people sit out. So you got to cram in all your best work in between the beginning and the end of the season. So I think if we get an expanded playoff, that'll give people incentive to want to play in those playoff games, that expanded way.
Yes, I have thought of that angle. It does, I think a lot of people have come to the fair determination, even as fans, if your team is in the hunt for a championship, meaning you're in the playoff, you would appreciate your players sticking through that because a championship's on the line and championships live forever. And then I think a lot of people understand if it is in those games, you get why people are going to not play and go to the league. And I think that's just how it is now. People got to look out for themselves. Nobody wants to Jalen Smith themselves for a game that doesn't result in anything anybody cares about. Sorry, it's just true.
Yeah.
It's true.
I agree with that. But I think that it's going to be a little bit more incentive to want to play in a playoff game and be seen in a big game for these guys, because it's not going to be a huge amount of players that'll, I think, want to sit like the extreme, like Michael Mayer.
Yeah,
you can understand that just because he's so good, he's going to be a top 10 pick probably.
Yep. I totally get it.
Yeah. So I think we're not going to see it as bad, but what you said B-, that's about right. I mean, I think that's what you can give them. But what people should take a look at is that 3 of the games they played are potentially guys that are going to be at New York, for the Heisman,
Yep. Listen,
Williams.
This schedule on paper, you knew it was going to be tougher than the last couple. It really did end up to be a stiff test with kind of broken up beginning, middle, end, a really tough team in each of those segments of the year. Good quarterbacks, tough first year for Freeman, and you may as well go through it, man. Learn the hard way. Face these good teams, I guess.
Absolutely. That's what I used to like about the old days of having a really tough schedule, was that teams didn't phase you. It was not a scary thing to be going into somebody's place to play a good team. You did it every week, so you weren't really intimidated by anybody.
Yeah.
But, the idea that this guy, Caleb Williams, I mean, he's probably going to win. We had C.J. Stroud, and he's probably going to be in New York for the vote. And then you had that guy, what is it, Drake May? Is it May from North Carolina?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's potentially 3 guys visiting that you played that might be in New York for the award.
It's tough. There's so many moving factors to when you look at like how you grade the guy. And like one of the most basic elements of that is before the year in August said this roster's limited. We went into the year ranked 5th, and I said we do not have the 5th best roster in America. No chance. That's a fact. I knew we had those issues. So how do you give Freeman a little bit of a curve that he inherited all of Kelly's mismanagement and bad recruiting and allowing other guys on his staff to not recruit? Like, yes, Freeman was the coach, but he's working with stuff that he didn't want and pick. It wasn't good enough. How do I curve that grade? What is fair to curve that grade?
Yeah, I mean, Kelly left them with Tyler Buckner, who hadn't seen a snap, or if he did, probably 6 or 7.
Right.
The whole year before, and he expects him to step in. Of course, the second game after the first quarter, he gets hurt. So, almost like the year before when Blake Fisher went down to start the season. But, so you're looking at Drew Pine, and of all of our schedule, was he ever the best quarterback on the field this whole year?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, yeah, you're right about that. Man, I always say this. Nothing ever seems black and white and just crystal clear obvious in the Notre Dame fan base. It seems like whatever the topic is, there's a range of opinions, and if you focus on a certain data set, you can back up your opinion with that data. I've been racking my brain with this. You could pick an angle or a grade and then list reasons why. And I could say, yeah, I totally understand your position. Like I genuinely mean that. Like you could say C and I totally believe it. You could say B, believe it. I don't think it's a D grade. Like no way. But if you don't want to give him an A, I get it. You lost to Stanford or Marshall. That's how I felt about B minus.
Yeah. And after 12 years, even if he were to stay, but he left after 12 years, you don't have any quarterback. Like that's impossible to fathom.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
How do you leave a team with two guys that the whole quarterback team is untested? Like, how do you leave after 12 years having that situation?
I lay up at night and wonder that every night. Like, I'm dead serious. I lay there at night and wonder it. And you know what I don't get? All this year, man, I've had people say to me or approach me on Twitter or whatever and say, man, you know what? I'm really starting to think that Kelly knew he was going to have problems with this roster this year and was looking to get – duh! Hello! Duh! Kelly – like, that is the most obvious thing. And it, like, just dawned on some people. The guy might have knew he created a nightmare that was going to come home to roost and didn't want to be there for it. Obviously, that's not the reason he took another job. It's a part of it. Nobody knows better what kind of nightmare was coming than the guy who created it. Kelly knew damn sure there was going to be quarterback issues, and that was a part of this. Kelly was well aware, but he skipped town, and it's somebody else's problem.
Yeah, it hurts. I mean, I would love to have seen what Buckner with a good amount of playing time this year would be for next year.
And the offensive line. The offensive line getting better too, because they were bad when he was in there. That's a part of that too, right? That development getting better over the year.
And they were inconsistent all year. I mean, it was that's just the way it is. I was thinking at the beginning of the year, I thought 8-4 would be acceptable. 9-3 would be good, and the possible chance of 10-2.
Yeah,
that's where I was at the beginning of the year. And then Buckner went down, even though he was untested. I was thinking, I was expecting a lot from him, and it's something it's going to just, as you and I have talked about before, it's just going to delay his growth. And then you have to rely on a guy like Tommy Rees to develop him. I mean, it doesn't make sense. That change has to come, because what I saw against USC was we were such a vanilla offense. I mean, I watch Harbaugh, and that guy, he knows how to get creative, like that jump pass. Like, why didn't we try, with our silly tight end running him over behind center?
Hey, ninth time's a charm, buddy. Ninth time's a charm. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but like, why not have him that tight end that apparently he played quarterback in high school too? That's
why I was expecting
why not have
that.
Him to
I know.
Throw to one of in a 13 set. Like, why not have him look for Mayer or any of the other backups?
Because there's no creativity. No creativity.
Thing that you've watched for the last 4 or 5 times against weak teams on defense for a 4th and 1. You know?
Yeah.
Throw it. It would have been so fun to see him throw that at that instant.
All year, I was waiting for it. All year, I was waiting for the pivot. And I'm going, every time we do this and it works, it's another 6 inches. The defense is cramming up on that line the next time we do it. And you fake them and you get them in a big spot. Nope, not for us. Not only are we not going to get creative, we're going to get no push as well. Like, it's very...
It was just too vanilla.
Yeah.
And you saw it coming and you knew it was coming and it came and it didn't work.
All right. Now, let me ask you this. Deborah Thomas, good to see you here. Thanks for joining. Let me ask you this. I've had people say to me when I ask, what do you think is going to happen with Tommy Rees? Do you think he's going to be back because of those relationships with the quarterback recruits and their families that are very healthy and they love him? Or do you think, we need new eyes? A lot of people have said to me, you're not seeing the best of Tommy Rees because he doesn't have the talent to work with. When he gets a big body, big arm quarterback, then you will start seeing this offense open up in the ways that we want. That is an angle of Rees, pro Rees people that I've been told. And then my response to that is, though, but he's recruiting these quarterbacks that then you want to say aren't good enough. Recruit better ones then. He's the guy doing it.
What I'm seeing from that is that if Rees goes, we're going to get a lot more interest in these top-end 4- and 5-star quarterbacks, and not just the ones that are at the top 150. It's like, if he leaves, I think kids are going to want to come here again at quarterback.
Man,
but I don't think they're seeing any kind of a chance to get themselves better by coming to Notre Dame under Rees. I just don't see it.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, man, people behind the scenes still say, just great recruiter. All the kids love him. All the families love him. And I just keep being told he's so limited in what he could do. You're not seeing any of it. And it's very, very frustrating. And so I want to give some other folks a chance, but I don't want to get off the line with you without asking you, what do you make of the new playoff change to the 12-teamer and where Notre Dame falls in that area? Do you like where we're at? Good position? Don't like it because we got to win way more games to win a title? Where do you fall for Notre Dame, where we fit in this?
Well, I think Swarbrick didn't really have much leverage, and so he lost in that negotiation because my understanding is they will never be able to get a bye like these top four teams in a 12 team.
Correct.
That they're scheduled for. He won't get a first-round bye. So that we lose out in. But then again, we should be able to finish in the top 12 with Freeman easily. So we'll never get a home game or a bye, that kind of thing, because probably we're going to have to play one of those top fours in our first game.
All right. So let me go here with you then on your point, which is spot on. Here's how I would look at that then. So we don't get the bye, even if we're undefeated and ranked number 1 in the nation. Number 5 is the highest we would be able to be. So you don't get a bye. But what that does mean is for that first round game, somebody, hopefully from somewhere way down south, is coming to snowy, cold South Bend, Indiana on the week of Christmas to come play us. I like that a lot. Yeah. That appeals to me big time. And then here's the other thing. 10-2 Notre Dame, not all. I went back and looked at the years of the final ranking and where people fell. Not all. Most years, 10-2 Notre Dame's in this field, not even just 11-1. So you have more flexibility, margin for error to be able to lose a game or two, maybe still be in the tournament. How do you look at that part of it with that extra flexibility?
No, I like it. I mean, I've always been in favor of, first they were doing the 2 teams and then they expanded to 4 and now they want to go jump 8 and go to 12. Well, I like 8 ideally because I think Notre Dame is a top 8 franchise that year in and year out would be able to make it and they wouldn't be penalized for being in the top 4. So, I'm all in favor of the expanded playoff.
Listen, more bites at the apple is always a good thing. And you know what else I like about this on a very practical and cynical level, because it's the way I think and see the world. Here's one thing I do like about this. If you're going to have some idiot committee like they have now making these decisions with their rationale changing of why they're judging one to every week, it's a different reason, eye test, and then the schedule, they make it all up on the fly. At least now I'm going to feel a lot less bad for number 13 that gets left out than I do number 5. So that fool committee's margin for error got bigger too, because anybody who probably has a real chance at the championship is going to make it, no matter how dumb these people are. They might seed them wrong, but pretty much anybody who has a chance to win it is at least going to make it now. So this takes a little bit of that off the committee that I do not trust or like. I think they need to make their deliberations live, not the package show once a week on ESPN. I want to see a camera in the room of them debating. Here's why I have this team here and why. No, I disagree with you. This is why. I want to publicly see that debate, not their canned answers once a week. Transparency is key, and there is none.
I agree with that. And one thing I would actually leave you with on this idea of our game with USC, there was easily 4 holding calls that were not called
per play.
When you have
per play, guy, not total, per play. They were holding every single time he was scrambling. They were holding.
Being called for a penalty. He's just going to run around. I told you how he knows how to get to the open space. That's what he was doing the whole time. He looked like Fran Tarkington. You don't remember him, but that's what that guy used to do.
I know the name.
30 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
And you know what else? Not only was he good at finding the open space, every time he threw off that, there was a wide receiver, and you couldn't see a white jersey in the TV frame. Every time he did it, there wasn't a white jersey on the TV. The guy was wide open somewhere in a soft spot.
Yeah, so if USC gets the same kind of refereeing, favoritism in the playoffs, they can win it all, because that's just, Notre Dame, you play against C.J. Stroud and Caleb Williams, and you lose by a combined 3 scores. You're talking about the 2 Heisman players. You can't really get too mad at the defense. They were chasing them. They got through, but holding calls were not being called. So these guys did as much as they could, although, there were certain that running back, he looked like Diggs the whole time, this whole year, like he made runs that looked just like Diggs. And
I knew,
so you can't discount that.
I knew that.
But then again, if you're able to run it or pass it and not fear being, because I think their average per year was like 62 yards a game of penalties. And up until when they got the 24-7 lead, I don't even think they might have had 1 call against them, but I don't think it was a hold.
Yeah.
So once they let them get that comfortable lead, then all of a sudden they called some makeup calls,
Yeah, that's how I saw it. You know what I felt? You know what I said? I tweeted this too. It felt to me like once that guy had the Heisman wrapped up and he got his stats he needed, they started dropping the flags afterwards. I genuinely felt like that was the timing of it.
Yeah.
I did. And then once they were like, okay, he's done enough to secure that. Now we're going to balance it out. Here, I'll leave you with this. I don't want to leave you with this, but I got to give somebody else. I don't want to leave you with this, but the worst part of the USC experience for me wasn't what that quarterback did, because we know how extremely gifted and athletic he is. We knew that part of the game was going to be a challenge. I am by far most disturbed because I felt they out-physicaled us, and that surprised me. That surprised me. If they won, they were going to win on the arm of that quarterback making magician plays. They ran the ball for 204 yards on you, and you ran it for 90 on them. They out-physicaled us, and I'm very upset with that. That makes me way more upset than not containing a Heisman guy. They out-physicaled you.
Again, that was Reeves abandoning the game plan of running, because once that second half and we drove down the field and fumbled, he totally left the running game. He went with trying to, because they had to catch, they play in catch up at that point.
Yeah.
So once that fumble came, Reeves left the game plan and started having him throw it. It turned out he was able to get some pretty fast scores, and he looked pretty good doing it. But then again, I mean, he's not the quarterback that we need to get anywhere.
Yeah. God bless him, though. He tries hard, and I love him. He's just physically limited. I love his effort and his dedication to Notre Dame, and he did a good job as a backup, I guess. It's just we want more than that.
To lean on.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, man, really, really good phone call. We covered a lot of ground here. Really good call. Thanks a lot. Good start to the day. Thank you.
All right, John. Go Irish. Bro.
Go Irish. Have a good one. Go Irish. All right, let's see what's up if Dr. John's back. He said he had his phone on mute, and then Kent made fun of him. Let's see what's up. Do I got you?
Hey, John.
Yeah, there he is.
Actually, I don't.
Can
you hear me now?
Oh, yeah. We got you now, man. How are you?
Well, I don't have my A game today. My oldest daughter kept me out too late last night.
What were you out about? Were you out on the town or what?
Yeah, we went out to dinner and then had too many beers. And I walk out of the Mint here in Livingston at midnight, a little after, and what do I see? 5 inches of snow.
Ooh.
In those 5.5 hours, 5 inches of snow.
Wow.
So anyway, I actually came back and shoveled a little bit, but anyway, I have a prescription for you.
I need something this week for sure.
You don't go much more than an hour today. And also, my oldest daughter said there's something called throat coat. Have you ever heard of it?
I don't think so. Will it help me be able to talk? Help the golden pipes here, like turn me into Tony Roberts or what?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if it'll do that much for you, but she said that a lot of singers and actors use it just for that reason, so they don't lose their voice. So
I appreciate
you might give
that.
that a shot.
Dr. John, I think a lot of people were happy I lost my voice. A lot of people were happy I lost my family. A lot of people on YouTube, I think a lot of people needed a little break. They were glad I was shut down. I don't blame them.
Well,
I don't blame them.
I missed you.
I appreciate it.
Anyway, to this idea of topics, I think is a great idea for your show during the off season and stuff. I think, like I said on the chat on Monday, it'd be nice, if you announce the show before, on Monday you say this is what's going to be on Wednesday and stuff like that. So
yeah, that's a good little way to do it. So I think I'm gonna try that. Good idea.
My grade for Freeman is exactly what you said, a B minus. And you know what? I think that's a pretty good evaluation of what he did this year too. And I'm looking forward to a great signing class on the 21st. And I hope we play South Carolina in the bowl game. It's been between South Carolina and UCLA. And frankly, I'd rather look at Shane Beamer on the sideline than Chip Kelly.
Is it just because it's Kelly? It doesn't matter what Kelly. We're so done with it. We don't want to see any Kelly. I don't care whether it's Chip. I don't care whether it's Brian, whatever. I don't need any Kelly. I don't care if it's Clarkson. I'm not doing any Kellys.
Well, as soon as I said it, I knew you were going to say something like that. But that's not true. I just have never warmed up to that Kelly either.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe we have a bias. We have inherent biases against Kellys. Hey, maybe so. Listen, so. Dr. John. Hey,
you're Irish for crying out loud.
Do you like the new playoff format? Do you think it helps or hurts Notre Dame? Does it devalue the regular season? Do you like it for Notre Dame or not? Does it impact their independence? What are your thoughts on this expanded format?
Well, I certainly like the expanded format. I don't know enough about it to know, if Notre Dame's up against some negatives or not. Is it because of the conference champions?
Yeah, they're saying that because we are not going to be exposed to catching a loss, in the last week of the year, even if we're undefeated, the highest we could be seeded is 5 in the playoff, which means we would not get a first round bye that the first 4 rankings get. So we would not be able to get a bye because we're sitting home and wouldn't have the risk of losing in championship week. However, that first round game we do have is in South Bend at our place in late December, and that's kind of nice.
Yeah, where is this? The rules of this format online someplace?
Yeah, I haven't seen it all, but they are starting to post like the bullet points of it and the layout. Yeah, so you should be able to find that if you Google it.
Okay, yeah, because I can't say anything that I've got any knowledge of.
Right.
So,
Look it up.
which is
Look
unusual.
it up and get comfortable with the setup, and then match that up with just your long-term Notre Dame over the decades, and then get back to me and let me know where you really fall on this. And I find your perspective particularly interesting. I'm not trying to age you, but you've seen a lot of Notre Dame football, and this is a huge shift from anything you've seen in your lifetime. And I'm really interested in your perspective on it for that reason.
Well, I'll give it to you, but when you say that, I was thinking of this after Monday's show where there were a bunch of people that really were bummed and stuff, and I started thinking back. Until 1969, this was the worst time of the year because it was over.
Yeah.
And at least now we've got a bowl game to look forward to. Let's look forward to it,
Yeah, it is kind of nice.
And the other thing, putting that early signing day right where it is on the 21st. I mean, that helps a lot too.
Yeah. And that could be a Merry Christmas. That could be an early Merry Christmas, Dr. John, if it all works out and it shapes out the way it looks.
It's sure shaping up that way. So,
yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to have to cut loose early because my hometown is playing for a state championship in Minnesota, and I got to see if I can stream it some way.
I'm telling you, you are all over the place, man. You live a more exciting life than I am. I swear to God, you are all over the place all the time, and I love it.
Well, I don't know if you would or not. I'll take your 38 years against my 82 right now. Okay.
There you go. All right, fair enough. But hey, it's good to hear from you, and thanks for the email checking in on my health. It's good to know. I appreciate you very much. Thank you, my friend.
One more thing. I'm in Livingston, Montana.
Right.
And of course, Notre Dame doesn't play tomorrow, so I'm free. Montana State in Bozeman, is ranked number 3 in the FCS, and they're playing their first playoff game tomorrow. So I'm gonna saunter on down to a bar called The Office here in town, and just kind of be a little fly on the wall and watch these Bobcat fans have some fun. So
I'm telling you, man, you're a riot.
When you don't have
You're a riot.
Dog in the fight, you can just sit back.
Yep, yeah, and enjoy the carnage and watch everybody else stress out. Yeah, I like those. But hey, Dr. John, it's always good to hear from you, man. I swear to God, you don't even have a choice anymore. You're my surrogate grandfather, whether you like it or not. You're stuck with me now.
All right. I'll send you the papers.
Beautiful. Thanks a lot, partner. We'll see you. Have a good one.
Okay, John. Have a great weekend and take care of that throat.
Beautiful. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. Oh, what a nice guy. I love that guy. All right. 10-second Kleenex break. Be back. Oh, much better. Oh, much better. Man, it's hard to talk when you can't breathe. You know what I'm saying? 574, give me some more. What's going on today?
Hello?
Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for giving me a call. 574, you got to be in the general South Bend area, correct?
Yeah, I'm about 10 minutes away from the university.
Beautiful. So I would love to know what's on your mind with a lot of these topics. Do you have a grade in mind for Marcus Freeman's first regular season? Do you think the playoff is going to be advantageous for Notre Dame? What do you think about these items?
I would say I'd give it about a B minus. I mean, I like what I've seen from the recruiting class that's coming in for 2023, as long as we can hold it together. I'm feeling a little hopeful for next year. I mean, I know it's not any easier next year because I know we have to play Ohio State again. I would say the thing that bothered me most would be the two losses against Marshall and Salmon. And I know in Drake to death that those are our worst losses.
Yep, you just can't have them. As much flexibility as as much flexibility as I want to give Freeman in year one, and as much as I want to pin this roster's problems on the last guy and not Freeman, all of that being considered, and the quarterback injury issue, you still can't do what you did in those two games. That you just can't. You can't do it. Like, even with me wanting to give Freeman all the benefit of the doubt on the roster and all that, you can't do it. And I agree with you. Those are black marks, and you got to figure out why they happen to prevent them. We were not ready to play in those games, and that's an issue. So I agree with you fully.
I mean, one of the things I always like to do is when the schedule's released, I always look through and I always try and pick out what I think are the games that they're going to struggle the most. And I think I pretty much hit it on the head for all of them, except for the Boston College game. But I chose Ohio State, North Carolina, which they did come back a little bit toward the end. I chose USC, Stanford, and Navy were the games that I picked as the ones that I felt could give Notre Dame a little bit of an issue, or just based on the fact that some of them are our rivals, and you never know what's going to happen.
Yep.
So
what do you think of this playoff? Do you like it for Notre Dame? Is it an advantage? More spins at the wheel, more option, more ways to get in it? Or do you think it's asking too much for Notre Dame to string off a rip of wins a month after the regular season?
I don't know how I feel about the playoff expansion. I think it'd be interesting to see what some of these Southern teams do think of having to play in South Bend, Indiana, in Notre. Although, looking outside, it doesn't look like winter right now. But it is cold at times. So, I think it would be interesting. It could change how, if Notre Dame does stay independent. I'm not saying that it will, but I'm saying who knows what could happen, especially with we don't know how these conferences are going to end up shaking out as a result of the movement of Texas, Oklahoma, USC, UCLA. You don't know what's going to happen to the Pac-12. It could be dead for all we know. Notre Dame does have a vote, so if they want to, they could be one of the 8 teams that could dissolve the ACC. Rumors that I've been hearing. So I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it's going to be interesting, especially, like I said, if a Southern team does have to come up and play in our cold weather.
Yeah, and I like that as well. So you're giving up the home game, but if you're in that position to be to host a game, I love that. I do like that trade-off. Let me ask you this: does this devalue the regular season? You have more margin for error. Right now, I feel like Notre Dame has to go 12-0 to make the playoff, basically. I think in this regard, they could go 10-2 a lot of years and make it. Lose their 2 biggest games of the year and still make the tournament. Does this devalue the regular season games?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to answer that. I think it could bring more value, but it also could bring less. I'm sort of split down the middle because I don't know. We won't actually know how it affects things until it's actually put into play and we see it like year 1, year 2.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure.
It's so hard to judge.
Yeah.
I mean, we could look at how the 4-team playoff has affected college football and maybe playoff, how that has affected the regular season, the sit-out. I mean, you could see more, you could see less.
You know, listen, I'm glad you brought that up. I thought of this angle. I'm glad you brought this up. How does this not make more guys engaged longer? You're going to have all those teams with a chance at a championship. Maybe that keeps guys from leaving early if more teams have a chance for it. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? We won't know until it actually happens. but it's going to happen from what it sounds like. So we'll find out one way or another.
Do you have a preference? Do you have a preference in the bowl game? Who do you want Notre Dame to play? Have you looked into that?
I really haven't. I mean, I'm open to seeing who they play. I just want to see win at the end of the season to make it a 9-4 instead of an 8-5.
Yeah. Yep. And it's.
I would like to see it end on a high note with a 9-4, with Marcus Freeman getting his first bowl win, and then go into the next season and see where we go from there.
Yep. What do you got for a grade on Freeman? Give him a percentage. Give him a letter.
I think I already said B or B minus.
B minus.
Around there.
I think that's so fair.
B minus
it's fair.
B at the highest.
I think it's. I just keep falling on B minus, and the Clemson, North Carolina, BYU, Syracuse kind of weigh me on one side, and then like you just can't have the two losses we had that were just unimaginable, and it weighs it down. But I still see his average, and I feel like he just did a little more than average for all of the issues that fell in his lap right away. That's kind of how I end up coming to my conclusion.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at our preseason expectations, a lot of people were saying, I think a lot of people were saying like 9-3, 9-3. So we just fell a little short of our average.
That's right about where I picked. I think I picked in August 9-3. Losing to Ohio State is one of them. And then I figured we would split between Clemson and USC, one win and one loss. And then I figured we'd have one more dumb game that we lost, and I call it the first-time head coach tax. And I was close in that regard. Stanford and Marshall just can't happen, man. I want to burn those and never think about them again in my entire life.
Agreed.
I mean, I don't ever want to think about it again. I don't ever want to think about the USC game again. And it just happened. Like, we're burning these and we're moving on with a better roster next year, and we go from there. So any other final thoughts, my friend?
I would say one final thought I had, an idea I had posed to someone else about these refs. I would say we set some sort of central pool that all the teams can pull from, and that they have to go through some sort of yearly certification on understanding calls. Maybe it would get rid of some of these bad or missed calls. But that was just a thought I had. Instead of having individual conference judges that could favor the conference for outside.
Listen, I'm telling you, man, I think it's NFL and college. I think the officiating's been particularly egregious this year. Both levels. I have seen some really, really poor basic officiating, and I don't know what's causing it. I don't know if I'm hypersensitive to it. And I want to be very clear. I'm not only saying this when it hurts Notre Dame. I'm saying overall when I watch other games too, not just my bias that I want us to get every call. It's been bad. So I need them to clean that up, get those guys in class, do something. Or if you make a certain amount of obvious mistakes, guess what? You're not doing a game the next week. You're suspended, or you lose money every call you blow. They got to be responsible.
Yeah. Other than that, I don't have any other thoughts for you for the time. Maybe I'll call in again at some other point. I'll continue catching your shows every now and then when I can.
Beautiful, man. Thank you for the call. I really appreciate it. And hold down the fort for us there near campus, all right? I always like having people there, so hold it down for us.
Well, how about this? I also work on campus.
There you go, man. You're an inside agent. Give me a call whenever you get the inside scoop over there, all right?
Well, I don't work in the facility where they do all the trainings. I'm just saying, yeah.
Beautiful. I like having people. I like having people around, man. Thanks for the call. Have a good one.
All right. Yeah. Glad you're feeling better.
Thanks a lot. See ya, man. Man, you guys are nice. I got nice callers. Jeez, sometimes I almost wish somebody people who really hate me would call in so we can liven it up a little bit. I'm sorry I'm inviting that. I should probably be nervous. Somebody asked me, I'm not trying to be rude or like shocking. Somebody put in the chat, where did you get that shirt? My dead friend's dresser. I don't know what to tell you. You can't buy it in a store. Literally, my dead friend's dresser is where I got this shirt when he died at 22. So I don't know how he had it, but he wore it our whole lives. And then when he died, I got it. So I got it from Tyler's dresser. I have no idea where it started, but it means a lot to me to have it. That's all I could tell you. That's all I could tell you. 219, you're on the line.
Hey, John, what's up, man?
What's going on, buddy? What do you make of all this, man? I want your thoughts. I want you to give me a grade on Freeman, and I want you to let me know if you think this playoff's going to be good for the Irish.
I think Freeman was about a B, which, I mean, first time the guy's ever been a head coach at any level. So, I mean, I think we all thought this was a 2 or 3 loss team going into the season. They end up losing 4, so it was a little worse than we thought. But I think we all got to look at the big picture in the future and the way he can recruit.
Listen, Adam, let me ask you this. I don't know if you could see it. I know you're probably at work. And so I have one of the chats up on the screen, and it says, John, is there a first-time head coach curve? In college especially, I think there has to be, because the new coach is inheriting so many things he didn't sign up for, and then he has to make work until he could do things his way and build it his way. I think there has to be a little bit of a first-time head coach curve, to be fair, for that reason alone. Do you agree with me, or am I making excuses for my guy?
No, I agree with you. And you got to look at, he had mostly a new staff too. So a lot of these guys have never worked with each other. So, I mean, we got to give him a little bit of a break on that. He's never been a head coach at any level, just not at Notre Dame, at any level.
Right. And then week 2, the starting quarterback's out for the year, and you're doing everything you already wanted to do for the first time with the backup. Like, but Adam, when I say this stuff, though, there is a certain percentage of this fan base that then comes to me on Twitter and says, you're a Freeman fanboy. You know, it's unacceptable. Like, it's not good enough. You're just making excuses because you love him and you hated Kelly. Like, I am being very reasonable. You have got to give a new coach some time. And I just see it that way. Now, if he's losing games like Marshall and Stanford in 3 years, we're having a different discussion. That's different. If we're doing that in 3 years, this talk's way different.
Yeah, I hear that too on, when you're at games. It's, he was handed 11-1 team, and this is ridiculous. But I don't agree with all that.
No.
Because I know this, John.
No.
Brian Kelly would have lost all 3 of those games by 24 points.
Yep. And here's the thing. Here's the other thing I got to push back on. Here's what people say to me. John, you are factually wrong in all this, because Freeman inherited a top 5 team this year, and then we weren't ranked most of the year. That shows that he failed because he had top 5 talent. No. I've had a million people come to me with that angle thinking they're fancy with the actual numbers. No. Like, this was not a top 5 talented team. They started the year ranked top 5 because of what happened last year, not because of the talent that was there this year. There is no way anybody's telling me this was a top 5 talent team this year. Absolutely not even close. No.
John, last year's schedule was really easy.
It really was.
It really was.
Yes.
And the only team that they played that was good at all was Cincinnati, and they were down 17-0.
And it was Cincinnati at home. And I mean, come on. Like, yeah, you are absolutely right. And we knew this coming in, though, man. We talked about this. We said Freeman's got a tough job ahead of him because the schedule for the next 2 years, meaning this year and next year, is very heavy. You add in the fact that USC got really good overnight with all their dealings, and that's a big thing again. So tough schedules here.
Yeah. Freeman took over when the schedule got a lot tougher.
Yeah.
USC all got good. Brian Kelly didn't play any good to USC teams.
Yeah, no,
So,
he skated, man. Kelly was lucky. They were down his whole time, and it benefited. That's just the way things go, though. Teams go up and down, and that's the way it went. Kelly hit a good window there. But if we're having some of these issues and inconsistencies and losses against teams we're 17-point favorites over, in 2 or 3 years, it's a totally different discussion than the one now. It is. He gets a little bit of a grace period. Let him get it. Adam, you can't say, oh, Kelly didn't recruit good enough. Kelly didn't recruit good enough. And then be mad that Freeman can't win with those guys that we all agree isn't good enough. You don't get both. He's not a magician. If we all agree the recruiting wasn't good enough in certain areas, why was Freeman supposed to wave a wand and then make it perfect overnight?
Yeah, when everyone decided and when Notre Dame decided that we wanted Marcus Freeman, that we love this guy, we love what he was doing recruiting defensively as a coordinator, you had to kind of know that this was going to be building for the future. This was not going to be a next year thing. We knew our receiving room was going to struggle. We knew we had an unknown at quarterback. So this year was always going to be a rebuilding year. We just hoped it was only going to be 2 or 3 losses, not 4. So it was a little worse than we thought. But moving forward now, the staff has to make the adjustments. And next year and the year after, now you're going to be held to the fire a little more.
Yes, that is exactly how it. And the more we get into his own recruiting, his own development, and for every inch we move away from Kelly, I put more pressure on Marcus. That is how this goes. Every day that we go from now on, we're one step out of the Kelly era and into the Freeman era, and my expectations do raise. That is perfectly fair, and that is how I feel.
I think a lot of it depends on the quarterback, too. I mean, look how much better the receiving room even looked once Colsey started playing. So when you start having Colsey, Merriweather, and these new receivers coming in, I think you're going to see a big difference even next year. Yeah.
Yep. I agree with you. Now, let me ask you this. This is one of the biggest questions, and you and I have texted about this week. I don't know what to expect from Freeman in terms of recalibrating what we have going on, whether it's staff who needs to come and go or who needs extra help, what areas are trending up or down or neutral, kind of just, treading water. How important do you think this offseason is for Freeman to be able to take stock of everything and where it's all at and the staff and everything and really be able to tweak and adjust now that we're out of the grind of the season? How big of a deal do you think that is? Or do you think it still might be too early for that?
I definitely think there needs to be some tweaks offensively. And I know even there was times I've been real hard on Tommy through the season, but I don't know if that's the answer, just getting rid of him. I think there's open people. I just think our quarterback play was just that low. I don't think but there definitely needs to be some tweaks in with our run game defense, because when teams decided they wanted to run it on us, we had issues there, and our passing game. So I would assume he's smart enough to see that. I would hope, and we see some changes this spring and into the summer to be better at that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. And you know darn well that Tommy Rees thing is the first thing on everybody's mind. Everybody just wants to know where we're at with that. It is a question.
I mean, being at most of the games, John, like I usually am, and you really watch the plays develop, to be fair to Tommy, I think there's a lot of open guys getting missed, a lot that Pine just would zone in on one guy. But on the other hand, the offensive game plan was not ready to go from jump start at USC. They were not ready to go at all.
Yeah.
So you can go both ways with Tommy. So it's kind of, you can beat him up, but then he does do some good things too. So it's a hard decision.
Yeah, it is. And I think a lot of it has to do with these quarterback relationships. I just do. And I don't know, but it's blatantly obvious that quarterback situation needs to be figured out, whether it's Tommy Rees or somebody else, Tommy Chong. I don't care who it is. Somebody figure out an offense and a quarterback.
I mean, look what Caleb Williams does for USC. Without him, we beat them by 2 touchdowns.
It was amazing. I know I don't expect Notre Dame to have a Heisman candidate. I know they're rare, but it was pretty stark when you're staring at that game and you're like, yep, that's what we need, and we never have. But that's what it looks like right across the field. That's what we need. Don't have it. Never have it. Can't have it.
I think it's going to change. I'm just really, now that the season's over and I've calmed down from the USC game, I just really have a positive outlook for the future.
Well, dude, the recruiting's already better than anything Kelly could dream of. So you're not out of your lane looking at the future bright when recruiting's trending directly up. That is fair.
I mean, John, look at guys we were never even in the picture for. Even some of these battles we lose, we were never even in the picture for these kind of guys before.
Yeah. Yep. It's a different operation. They're relentless. It's a very refreshing recruiting operation. You're going to see dividends. You know my line, Adam. I always say, keep in mind, whatever happens this year, good or bad, understand this is going to be Freeman's least talented and deep team his entire time here. That is encouraging.
Yeah. Yep. So hopefully they can make the changes they need, and we can get in the spring and the summer and just see a little bit of a better team next year. And I think we will. I think you gotta give him some time. Think about the first time you did a job, the adjustments you have to make after you do it for a little while.
Yeah, and the other thing is, me and you, whatever those jobs weren't under the public microscope of America, right? Like everybody wasn't breathing over my neck at my job, waiting for me to do one thing that's wrong or questionable. But that's why he gets paid the big bucks to deal with that pressure. I know. But I just think things are trending up.
He wasn't hired because of his head coaching resume. He was hired because of his recruiting resume.
Correct.
So we have to give him time on the head coaching part.
Yep. I always said this. We agree, the collective we of Notre Dameness made the agreement to swap out Kelly's known consistency level of what you were going to get, beat all the teams you should beat, and then lose to anybody good. That's basically Kelly's MO here. We knew what we were going to get pretty much out of that. We swapped that out for unknown on the field, but very, very upside electric potential. And that's a deal I was willing to make, because doing it the old way, the results were never going to change. The results were never going to change. We saw the same season from Kelly 5 different times. We were never getting over the hump ever. I was ready to take this risk, try something new. At the worst case, if Freeman doesn't work out, he's leaving the roster full of talent. That's the low end of this, is he just doesn't figure it out, but the talent is all over the place loaded. That's your only worst part.
Yeah. There's no way Kelly only loses to Stroud and Williams by, 10 points? And beat Clemson. No way.
Yeah.
There's no way. We get blown up, probably.
Yeah. It's, so I don't know, man, but I think it's encouraging. The recruiting is super encouraging. And also, Adam, I think you'll agree with me. I felt it as the year went along. I mean, obviously USC was a nightmare. I do feel like I saw Marcus Freeman kind of ease more into this role and look a little more kind of like, hey man, I know what I'm doing here. Like I'm stable. And he, to me, just looked like he gained a lot of comfort from the beginning of the year to the end. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. But that's what makes the USC game so disappointing because it almost looks like we went backwards.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh man, we were not ready to play for some reason.
So, are you going to be? Oh man, are you going to be a big Utah fan tonight? Go Utes!
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I've never rooted for USC to win a game ever.
Yeah,
so,
me neither. Me neither. It's just like, dude, hey, something else. What about this? My man, Captain Smirk, David Shaw, no more. He's gone. Now who am I going to make fun of?
What are you going to do?
The Smirk is gone. He's gone. Left the building. No more smirking. He's gone. He beat Notre Dame, and that was the pinnacle, and he's gone.
Well, what if he shows up at Notre Dame as the offensive analyst to help Tommy? Then you'll really have to see the smirk.
Oh, I would love it. Give me the smirk on our side. As long as the smirk's on our side. I just didn't like that Stanford smirk. There's something about it. Our mascot's a tree, and we're smarter than you. It's just how he came off. I didn't like it.
Yeah, I know. It's funny.
All right, Adam. I'm going to get some other folks on here. I always appreciate the call. We always have a good rapport back and forth. Have a good day at work, and then I'm sure I'll text you about something I'm mad at later.
Yep, love the show. Go Irish. We'll talk to you, John.
See you, man. Have a good work day. Take care, buddy. Appreciate that. I love that, man. He's working. He's like, I'm kind of in charge of the group I'm working with. I could sneak out and call you. Oh, my God. Let's see. Here we go. And I'm going to get back to the calls. 818-859-737. How do we grade the fan base for Marshall and Stanford? Did the fan base pick up the team and create a hostile environment for opponents, or was it hostile for ND? Number one, I always say the Notre Dame fan deal is never going to be what I want it to be. It's just not. The nature of the Notre Dame fan base will never allow it. It is never going to be what I want it, a raucous, wild. It's not. Our fan base is just not built that way. Phil asks, what is a Ute? And I don't know either. What is a Ute? Is it some sort of animal? Some sort of goat? I don't know. Somebody tell me. Did the fan base pick up the team or create a hostile environment for opponents? It's never hostile enough. That's number one. Here's the other thing. Marshall and Stanford are not games that are going to excite anybody. Unless you're undefeated, then every game matters nationally. You're going to have a muted output for those games anyways, just because of it's Marshall and Stanford. So there's not going to be a lot of built-in juice on that. Marshall, was it really hot that day? That mutes the crowd too sometimes if it's earlier in the year and it's hot and they're in the sun. Here's the ultimate, though. Did the fan base pick up the team? That's not my job. Like, you got to give us something to cheer for, man. It is not my job to inspire you to go play. You got to do something to keep the fan engaged. Think about Clemson. Right away, first quarter, block, punt, touchdown, kept everybody engaged the whole time. That environment was a very, very good one. Competitive, loud, engaged, people standing, yelling. That was great. It only happened because we played good early and it told people, we're in this game. Let's get into this. When you start sleepwalking against teams that no one cares about, that have no juice, you're not going to get a loud crowd. That's not how it works unless they're booing. But when things are going bad, the home crowd isn't going nuts. It never works that way. It is on them to get the crowd engaged. If you give them a reason, the Notre Dame crowd will be loud. But you can't. It's so frustrating sometimes, man. It's so frustrating. What do I think about Stanford's coach quitting? I'm going to tell you what I think. David Shaw, even though he beat us this year, he looked like he was sleepwalking in our game. He looked checked out. I don't know what's going on with him, but in our game, I literally thought, dude, this dude is beating us and he doesn't even look like he wants to be here. Like, I literally thought that, man. I did. So I don't know what. Shaw is just a weirdo. Shaw is just a weirdo. All right, I hate to do it. Nose break. Don't leave. Oh, man. Much better. John, question. Ever since the new construction of ND Stadium, do you find the fan base changed more corporate? I mean, you have those suites and all that, but I wouldn't have known those people anyway. So they were already going to do that. So, yeah, there's more corporate stuff, obviously. I'm not even worried about the Crossroads reconstruction. The one I have a problem with is the original addition construction. And let me tell you why. You made the physical choice, Notre Dame, to cover up a large portion of Touchdown Jesus visibility from in the stadium for more revenue. You made that decision. I don't like it. I don't care what anyone tells me. I know a lot of people who agree with me. I hated it. So I don't have an issue with Crossroads. I had an issue when they did the upper bowl and blocked off Touchdown Jesus. You need that many tickets? Cut me out a sliver so I can see Touchdown Jesus. Cut me out a sliver of that little window, that rectangle where Jesus comes down. You covered that up to sell more tickets, and I don't like it. So I don't have a problem with Crossroads. I have a problem with that. Covering up TDJ. No. 859, you're on the line. Rodney, you're next. Hello.
Hello.
What's going on?
Your two topics. The grade incomplete. We don't know. We don't have this recruiting class yet. So let's see. Hopefully we don't have any defections. Let's see how he handles the bowl game.
Look at you cutting a corner with the incomplete. That's clever. I like that angle. That's a good angle I didn't think of. I like that. I think that's fair. Do you think I'm out of pocket giving him a little leeway? I wouldn't give Kelly year one. I think that's perfectly reasonable to do.
Well, okay, what are you going to compare him to? As I've told you, this you play the old person. That Lou Holtz. What would you give Lou Holtz going 5 and 6 his first year? An F, a D, but you got to look who he lost to. One reason Freeman's going to get mad is he lost 2 bad games at home, but he didn't lose control of the team, so that tells me he does have the ability to know what he's doing. He's not overwhelmed.
You know what, man? Wait.
Get it.
That's a very good point. That after Stanford, this thing was teetering on going really dark, really hard. And I'm glad you brought that up. Whatever they did, whether it was player-driven, coach-driven, they did steer out of that because it could have been a death dive after Stanford. They could have packed it in, and they didn't. So good point by you.
Yeah, I think our biggest problem, and it scares because he's, excuse me, John, I'm kind of sick too, is our linebacker and defensive line. I think our players got worse there, and that's scary considering that's Freeman's expertise. So I know everybody wants the offense, and that's the easy whipping boy. But you look at our defensive line and our linebackers, those guys that had talent, they digressed on how they developed.
Yep. Linebackers specifically, very disappointing. Everybody in the Notre Dame media, I think everybody thought going into the year that group would be a plus unit that would really help us. A lot of people had Marist breaking out. So did I, coming off the injury, the hair flying around. No one is satisfied with that linebacker play at all. Is that coaching? Is it the talent? Is it both? I don't know, but it was not good all year, not good enough.
Or what Gore's calling, he would send the linebacker, the guy with the hair, he just puts him, he's out on an island. It's like he's just rushing in and getting nowhere.
Yeah. Yep. And you know what
All right,
else
let's go
too?
we got to go to the elephant in the room because I sent you the text on this.
Oh, I didn't.
If the goal is to win it,
I did not look at that because that's what I have hooked up for my phone system. I have to use my Heard It Buzz, but I didn't look at it. But you got to fill me in.
the one where I sent you early morning said, do a talk about the playoff. The goal is to win a national title at Notre Dame. It used to be. The goal now will be, the running thing will be just make the playoffs. And here's my point on this, is you used to have to win 12 games in the regular season. You'd have to win 2 more. Now Notre Dame, if you take this year's schedule, if we'd run the table, we'd be 12-0. Our best thing would be 5. Our best seed could be 5. We'd have to go 16-0 this year instead of 14-0. That's a huge difference. Why? You don't have 2 weeks to get off. You get. It's like being a number 1 seed in basketball, but yet your reward is you get all the other number 1 seeds in your bracket. ND sold out for one reason. They didn't want to go into a conference, and it's about money. They want that first round game because it brings money into South Bend in December. Yeah, that's great. But then what happens? You then go on the road if you're the best team in the country. So if I'm Notre Dame, I'm watering my schedule down and say, all right, I'll play 2 tough games. We'll go 10-2, and we'll sneak in at 12. That's what you're really looking at. The regular season won't mean jack because you run the table.
You know what, man?
This
is really interesting. I get what you're saying intellectually, and it's almost like, in a way, if you had a rough year and snuck in at 10-2, then you feel like this kind of benefits you. But if you go undefeated and you're number 5, you almost feel like it hurts you. I see it both ways.
I just think it's the old adage. The goal is to win the title. We haven't done it since '88. We now, the layers there. Our worst record, John, we could have to win the title is 15-1. Realistically, to get the easiest path, considering what the brick walls are in front of us, we're going to have to go 16-0.
Well, wait a second, though. Isn't 10-2 Notre Dame in the top 12 most years? How are they not?
Yeah, I'm saying once you get in, John. I'm saying, okay, you get that first round bye. That's a cakewalk game. Let's say you go 11-1.
Right. You're saying what are the odds? What are the odds we're going to rip off a month of beating all these good teams in a row? Is kind of your angle, right? And if you have to go somewhere, especially, yeah.
Injuries, yes.
Right. Compared to
you're making kids good at.
But there's a give and take, though. But follow me here. I get you. There's a give and take here. 2012 is a great example. All Notre Dame had to do was get lucky or be the better team one night against Alabama, and you're champions. You don't have to be better than them overall. You have to get some breaks and be better than them for one night long enough. But so once you're there, that's your best opportunity for Notre Dame to win. However, it was way harder for them to get into that game. So it's going to be harder for us to win it all, but we have easier access compared to harder to make it, but then you only have to play good once. That is what I'm having trouble balancing, those dichotomies.
Where's the other factor? When this first round game is, and I haven't seen that, it's going to be right in the heart of finals or near it.
I think they were, I thought it was Christmas week. I thought it was like Christmas week they were talking about or something. December 20, I don't know.
Okay.
And I don't even think students would be on campus then.
Finals get over the 18th, I believe, this year. You're going to get a lot done going in a week to get ready. Now, granted, it's going to be an easy first-round game. I'll give you that. But, I mean, we were backed in. The other thing, our other option would have been is maybe join a conference, but we're realistically kind of in a conference. If you're a non-conference player, you get to dictate all your 12 games. We've got these 5 games with the ACC. I'd try to get out of that deal. If we're going to go this route, you get out. If you stay independent. But we're not realistically independent.
Yeah. Do you
agree with that?
It's just, you knew this was coming, man. And for the reason, money. It was just a matter of what form it was going to take. It was just a matter of what form it's going to take. And this is just going to be really interesting. I think Notre Dame's going to get more spins at the wheel here. That's going to be exciting. But like you said, that's a tough track all in a row.
Yeah.
Health. That's a good, man, you brought up the health. You're going to be looking at teams getting physically beat to hell for a month in a row, playing all the good teams, man. This is going to be savage.
And you got to water down your regular season. We've already kind of seen that. We know they did it for political reasons, but the way not playing a non-Division I game, you're going to have to pull what Alabama does. You've got to restructure your schedule if you're looking at it for a long haul of 16 games. You've got to really start watering your schedule down. And if you do that at home, what do you think the sellout rate's going to be then?
Yeah, I've seen it.
In the long run, it could cost you money.
I've seen a lot of people say that they need to water it down. And then I have people say the exact opposite. It's the opposite of that. It gives you more flexibility to make the playoff with maybe 1 or 2 losses, where right now we have to be perfect.
But John, you realize as well as I do.
Right?
Why do it? You run our schedule this year was a gauntlet. You go 12-0. Your reward's a 5 seed.
Yep.
But you're telling me if Notre Dame waters their schedule down and goes, let's say we don't play anybody, maybe one tough team, let's say USC, and we go 11-1, we're not going to be in the top 12?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And you know who's doing that scheduling model and has no bad consequences from it? You know who's the champion of this scheduling model you're referencing is Michigan. Michigan has specifically gone out of their way to schedule this to essentially be a 1-game season for them. They have literally scheduled it, backed out of the game with UCLA and got Hawaii instead or UConn. They literally scheduled that the way you're referencing on purpose. It's basically a 1-game season for them now. And there are no consequences. At no time is that committee going to go, Michigan, you scheduled 4 high school teams in September. We're going to knock you down. It doesn't exist. So there is no negative on that end. They do not penalize Power 5 team for that weak scheduling. They don't.
This is going to become like the NBA. Just make the playoffs.
Well, you got to be in it to win it, though, right? You got to be in it to win it. Or you're saying that all the Notre Dame fan base is going to say, as long as we make the playoff, even though we lose, that's now the bar and it's good enough. Is that what you're getting at?
The bar used to be win a national title. The bar, that ship has sailed.
Yeah. Before I could walk, I love that bar, damn it. I love that bar from when I was 3 years old. It's my favorite. Can we get back to it? No, I'm just going to drink at the bar.
We had 5 years of bad Jerry Faust. I've now had 20 years of bad football.
Yeah, and some
I do think Freeman get the done. I do. I think giving 3 years, I think you have to do is grade him in year 3. Where are we at year 3?
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
Because Kelly knew this. He allowed the laziness to go on with the wide receivers and the quarterback room.
Yep.
And he also knew, like you said, he had a watered down schedule. He knew what the schedule was going to be like in the next 2 years. And he's a brilliant man. Think about it. If he gets fired out of LSU, he has a hell of a retirement plan for working 2 years or maybe 3.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're
done with the people at LSU.
These are you're bringing up some good issues, and the playoff thing is not cut and dry, and I could see it a bunch of different ways. It's just very, very tricky. You're going to have more wiggle room to get in, but it's harder to win once you're in, and that is very, very interesting.
Isn't that the ultimate goal?
Yeah.
God, I'd like another banner for my basement.
Dude,
the ultimate goal is to win it.
Listen, man.
You know how depressing it is? In my mind, I don't see us winning again. I would give anything to win it.
I know.
But I just don't see it.
I have the in my basement going down. I'll make a video of it. I did the full entrance, the stadium, the tunnel, play like a champion, and then all of our titles is my basement that when I come down here. And there's that huge open gap under 88, and it's never going to get filled in. There's all that space under the 88. It's never going to get filled in. I'm going to saw it off.
You need a show about 89 versus 93.
Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started on the Bobby Bowden graduation retirement award.
Big Bobby. They were going to give him that fucking title no matter what.
Yeah, it's my great.
If you saw that game, if Jeff Hurst holds on the ball, he had 7 interceptions. We didn't just beat them by 14. I know we only won by 7. We beat them by 28 easily. They weren't even the same team as us.
Yeah, oh man, I love your vitriol. I respect that hell out of it. I appreciate this kind of bitterness towards some of this. I love it, man. It's
Oh, you kidding me? Well, no. SC? That's why I was getting so pissed. I even asked, because I had a friend of mine that just had, best friend from Notre Dame, just had a son that graduated a year ago from Notre Dame. And I called him because he's getting married coming up. And I said, do they still live and die USC? Luckily said pretty much. You can understand when you had a dad graduate in 1942, you grew up, you won one damn game. You won one game. This was a school, all boys. If you wore another school sweatshirt, your ass was in the lake. You didn't show up for the pep rally. Your ass was in the lake.
Yeah.
That's the passion I grew up with. I understand. Never going to go back to that. Never, ever going to go back to that.
Yeah, the times have
Because
changed too
they don't really
much.
care.
Everything's changed too much. We have to find a way. It's threading a tough needle. Notre Dame needs to find a way to try and maintain the values they uphold and be elite at football. And it's hard. It's hard.
I think with the NIL and the transfer portal, it's like free agency. We've basically become a farm system for the NFL. College football is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's not about academics. Are you kidding? You think all these guys they flipped that went after USC, you think they're going to end up with degrees?
Yeah.
What they should do is a study, because you
No.
probably weren't old enough, John. I'd say maybe 15 years ago, Notre Dame played it with their alumni in a bowl in Japan. And they popped up what Notre Dame players were doing at the current time. I'd like to do a study, how many CEOs, how many doctors, how many lawyers we have compared to these other football factories. Because you know what? The sad story is about Mr. Moore, and he had, a 4.2 GPA, but his entourage wanted to live off and get the Nike money. So God help if his knee blows out. All those Nike checks are going to stop.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the doctor. You know who I think of is Dr. Reginald Ho. Come in there and kick you some field goals, win you a championship.
Yeah.
He is a very well-respected doctor. I love Reggie. I love Reggie.
He said, "What are you going to do after the big win?" I said, "I got a test to study for."
Yeah, it's wild, man.
The night after we were on fall break that week too. He said, "No, I've got a big test I got to study for after the game."
Yeah, man, Notre Dame's different, my friend. Any final thoughts here? I'm going to give another caller a chance as we wrap up. Any thoughts on the conference championship games tomorrow? Anything you're keeping an eye on other than me wanting Georgia to kill LSU? Huh?
You know me well enough. LSU must lose.
Yep.
Michigan must lose.
Yep.
And I'm praying to God somebody can take out that horse. But I think USC rolls them.
Yeah, me too.
Once we couldn't take them out, I think they go make it.
Yeah.
The only positive I'll say, I know your buddy, at least Ohio State won't make it.
Yeah, you
gotta realize, I live 2 hours from them. As much as you hate Michigan, I hate Ohio State as much.
Yeah.
I'm 2 hours from them.
Yeah, it's a tough scene. But the issue is the two teams I hate the most, one is Michigan, two is USC. I really don't like the prospect of having 2 out of the 4 playoff teams be the two that I absolutely cannot have win a title, or it'll just drive me insane. I don't like those odds.
It's funny, John. Had you grown up in my era, the other two you would have hated as much.
Miami and Florida State.
Miami and Florida State.
They're the next two on the list.
You think Ohio State fans are obnoxious?
Yeah.
And Michigan fans are obnoxious? Just ask people about Miami fans.
Yeah.
They used to throw beer on our priest.
Yeah.
That's why we canceled that series. They got that hostile.
You're right. I think some of this is that age, but the next thing out of my mouth would have been the next two on deck are Miami and Florida State. Like, I'm right there with you. I'm with you, man. But thanks for the phone call.
I got one question.
Go ahead.
You got to go.
Go ahead.
Who do you think do you think it's Gator Bowl's locked, and who do you think we get? Is it South Carolina?
I don't know. South Carolina is the one I've seen the most, like, projected. But I don't know. And it's going to be interesting. I want to see this matchup.
Would that drop them down to playoffs? I haven't seen that anymore. They've kind of gone. I can't believe they wouldn't want to get that matchup. If LSU loses, wouldn't they drop far enough to get us?
That could be interesting too, unless do they have some agreement with their conference that if you're the second team, you go here? Like, there may be an automatic agreement I'm not up on.
Yeah, because they're in the championship. You might be right about that.
Right, of the loser, that guy. I don't know that for sure. That may be in play. But yeah, I'm going to do a lot of hate watching starting tonight against that damn horse, man. Thanks for the call.
Hey, John, I really appreciate you. You have an awesome show. I always follow you, and I appreciate you giving me the time.
I appreciate it, my friend. Thanks a lot. Have a good weekend. You take care. Enjoy the football. Even if you're hating on everybody, enjoy it. Oh, sorry I cut you off. I was mid-button. 818.
John, I'm going to go get the papers.
What's going
That's
on?
a reference to Dr. John earlier. The last thing he said as he was going away.
What? I'm sorry, you cut out. What about Dr. John?
Oh, Dr. John said something about papers at the end of his message. And so that's some good fellas, man. That's some good fellas. Anyway, how's our connection today, John?
Better. It's better.
Okay, good. Because you said that my heart is about to sink. I'm like, my third option hasn't worked. Okay.
No, it's much better.
How you doing, man?
I'm feeling better, and we're in a weird period of time here. Right after the first regular season, a new coach, in between the bowl game, kind of waiting to see for the regular postseason what's going to change in the program. It's a unique little spot we're in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I agree, man. And I'm gonna tell you what, I have not been on the calls in about a week. A lot going on here, but I had a bunch of notes written down and I kind of forgot about them. But as I was thinking here in the car, a lot of them came back to me, and I want to take a little bit of a deep dive into some of this. But let's cap off the USC game because I get a chance to talk about that, John. That night, Caleb Williams looked like a combination of Michael Jordan and Michael Jackson.
That's actually a pretty good way to just moonwalking around our guys and just sliding around. And
oh my God, I just kept saying it and I kept laughing because I'm like, this is going to happen again, by the way. Here we go. Here's the down. And I was getting so angry and, shotgun, like, again. I mean, it was like you could predict it happening the entire night.
It was uniquely frustrating.
Notre Dame shows the wrong shoulder every single time. Because I'm like, even if he's doing that, even accidentally, you spin the other way. Oh, maybe there's someone else there to then bring you down. It never happened. Now let's talk about holding. John, I didn't take the refs into, the overall outcome of the game originally, to be fair. And I was like, I kind of like the fact they were letting them play a little bit. I don't like it when they call holding I really don't.
Yeah.
But, Bosky played the best game you'll ever see a defensive lineman game that didn't show up in the stats. Because there were so many times, and Admiral as well, where they were being held about to probably make a sack or at least try to get their hand on his jersey. And the guy was being held so bad, like 4 or 5 times, where that would have maybe changed the outcome of the game. I don't say that usually.
It was incredibly frustrating, and I felt like as soon as that guy racked up all those fat numbers, then they started throwing the flag. Once he had the Heisman in the bag, I hated it. I just hated it. This was one of the most frustrating games probably since Cincinnati. Like a big game. Cincinnati at home was frustrating. I mean, this was all night, just driving me just nuts.
Well, and John, I'll still say at the end of the game, I'll give USC that game. I outplayed us overall, but it's just interesting to know how much better the talent is getting, John, where we still could have. That, I think, it affected the outcome of the game, at least in terms of the final score and how, that could have been down to that last drive. Had we gotten a couple sacks in those positions? Or he just wasn't able to find the guy downfield, maybe he just throws the ball away then, but it was maddening what I was seeing that night, both on the referee standpoint, not calling those calls that were obvious, but also our inability to just accidentally play on him one time.
Yeah, I know.
I could not believe what I was seeing. Yet, I'm sorry, John, God bless USC on that night. I'm just saying. So I kind of came out of it. I was mad as hell. I mean, I was what was that? Was that network? I'm thinking, what was the broadcast name? I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take this anymore. But I mean, I just decided, you know what? This is USC's night, man. Unfortunately, just as USC's night. Oh yeah, he's going to win the Heisman now. We know that. And we did it.
But again. But here's the thing, dude. Here's what bothers me the most about it. Even when Pete Carroll did what he did, and I hated it, and you knew there's money and everything behind it, those guys at least went there and stayed there and bought into USC and put roots there and grew together, Leinart and Bush and all them. This was a simple matter of where is the money? It happens to be in LA, and now it's at USC. Like, in a way, I don't respect it as much because it wasn't built organically. It was just bought, and it doesn't feel the same to me, even though the guy's going to win Heisman and they're probably going to go to the playoff, and it's legit as can be. It doesn't feel like it is to me, damn it.
100%, John, 100%. I 100% thought about it many, many times during the game. Then I hear, like, I know it was 19 transfers this year, but it was like 33 over 2 years, I believe. That's ridiculous, man. That's ridiculous. And how do you applaud? I mean, listen, I'm not taking anything away from Lincoln Riley, by the way. I thought he called a great game. I think he's a really good coach. I'm looking forward to that rivalry. Taking my Notre Dame out of it, which is obviously impossible to do, I will say, as strange as it sounds, we said we didn't want to flip it year one of the rivalry, but let's be honest with you. Year one of the rivalry is against two very new coaches. One, first year, and second one has only been around. He's only been head coaching for a few years now. And to be honest, when you have 33 transfers, you're able to just replace right away. I mean, they filled those gaps for the talent differential very quickly. Notre Dame is the better team, though, if Caleb Williams isn't on that team, and with C.J. Stroud's not on Ohio State. And that was the thing I wanted to calm everybody down last week when I wasn't able to get on because I couldn't call. That I really think that it sucks because we're not 9-3 with a chance to be 10-3. I really like that dynamic of being able to say that. That's what hurts, John, is I really wanted that 10th win on the horizon. You know, now we got to settle for kind of either Kelly's kind of median bottom at the first 2 years where it was always 8-5 seasons, or the 9-4. I'll take the 9-4. I'm interested in who we're going to play. Playoffs too. I have some things to say. Playoffs.
I just hope we can win a game.
I just hope we can win a game. Are you kidding me?
It's the tone in his voice. The tone in his voice saying it is what makes it all. It's that high-pitched tone. Are you kidding me?
Well, dude, him and Dennis Green's rant, the thing that was so great about it is you felt what they were, you knew exactly how they felt, and you felt the same way.
Yeah, it is. They are who they thought they were. You want to crown them? Crown their ass.
But John, I will. Crown.
Hey, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question? Let me ask this. How much do you feel, or do you feel, that Freeman has developed as a coach from the beginning of the year till the end, even with the bad, rough ending in LA? Do you feel like you saw him grow as a coach, more comfortable on the sideline, more confident in what he's doing? Do you feel like you saw some of that growth from him? Or is that something where you're like, let's see what next year is with a clean slate? How do you feel about his growth personally as a head guy?
Yeah, B- overall, absolutely, positively trending up. The fight. First of all, the first major setback, the Marshall game. I would say, as a fan base, we were more negative than the Stanford in terms of wondering if this was even the right guy, because we hadn't seen the BYU game,
right? The upside, yeah. Right.
Once the Stanford game happened, dude, I think what we thought was, okay, I now see that this guy can get them ready to play when he needs them to be ready to play, but is this going to be just a up and down yo-yo all year? Well, then he marched off 5 wins in a row and looking really good. And I'm like, okay, Marcus Freeman, I was sold on him being the head coach at that point. And then the USC game, man, honestly, and I'm going to compare this to Kelly's. This goes to another point earlier. Let's take the five games I think we're all thinking about here: the Marshall, Stanford, Clemson, Ohio State, USC. Let me go through those 5 games. Okay, Marshall, Kelly finds a way to win that game. Okay, horrible, but finds a way to win it.
Yep.
Stanford, he probably also finds a way to win it.
Yep.
Maybe they win by 7.
Yep.
Okay, Ohio State, let's go back in the year. He gets beat by 17.
Yep.
I think he has them ready to play at the beginning, but they get beat by 17.
Yep.
Clemson, he wins a squeaker. Because that same team, I think, beats the Clemson team 2 years ago the same way they did this year. And then I think the USC game, he loses that one by 24.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. And you're not stretching. You're going off what you've seen, man. You're going off that evidence.
Well, John, here's the last thing. You're gonna feel even better about it. God bless, and I mean this, man. Pine is such a good, he's such a good player. You know what I mean? He tries so hard, and he's good. Like, he's got a good mind.
He's so. Here's your angle. Here is he's so good, and I don't want it.
But I mean, at the same time, I'll give him this, dude. I think Pine's a lifer there. I mean, I think he's going to be someone probably really, probably like, who knows, a podcast like you have at some point, or maybe he's a coach or whatever. But Pine's going to be around a while, I think. And I think we're going to look back, and Pine's going to have another moment in Notre Dame Stadium. It could be as a backup role this time. But I'm going to say, you remember like Tommy Reese, how he was kind of that relief pitcher in that 2012 year?
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if that's Pine next year. Don't be surprised.
Oh boy, it's going to be interesting.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's kind of well for him, John. That's what I'm trying to say. He's going to make a great. I just had this feeling, and of course, I had a feeling about Braden Lindsey too, and that never happened.
Yeah.
By the way, they set themselves up perfectly for that play, and then didn't run it.
Yeah,
and then got stopped.
It's.
But John, I guess my point is, you take away the quarterbacks, John. We're right there with everybody else. I mean, we're better than USC, I think. Yeah, but they outplayed us that night. I want to give them credit. They overall outplayed us, but the refs also made it, a factor in that game. So it's weird. It's like we're right there, John. Just for the quarterback, and now it's also trending up in recruiting the rest of the way. Let's just finish this thing off, man, with a top 3 class, and let's go.
Yep, you're right. I think Freeman did grow into the job as the year went along. And I just think it should just keep getting better. The talent angle, the arrow is pointing straight up. I think better days are ahead. And we're going to see, here's the other thing, just as a selfish college football fan, once this new playoff thing kicks in, we're going to get to watch so much more good football. I can't wait. Like a whole nother month. It's going to be great. And all the games are going to have intrigue. That's exciting.
Well, and I'm glad you brought the playoffs, because I wanted to end with that. Thank you, John. I want to have everybody look at this a different way. I think everybody's looking at this the wrong way.
Okay, give it to me.
If you notice, usually with teams, it's 4-game increments where you kind of see throughout the season. That's why it's a 12-game season. First 4 games, second 4 games, last 4 games. Notre Dame still has a bye. They just have it right before the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they do. They don't play a championship game. So whoever else is playing their championship games, Notre Dame, and I think that momentum works. Well, we'll see.
Right, but yes and no. Yes, you're right, but that also doesn't eliminate the fact that we have an extra game though because of it. Like, we have to pay for that. Like, there's a bill that has to be paid on that flexibility because we have to play a whole nother game in the playoff.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying it's not like, no one said that though. Everybody's like, well, we got to play 4 in a row. Well, yes, we do. And they got to play 3 in a row, but they've also got to play a championship game. Their bye just comes different than what ours does. And personally, I'll tell you this, man. Granted, there's going to be games where maybe the 12th team and we're going to play somewhere else, that first week. But if we are the 5th team, or we're number 1 in the country for that matter, and we got to play number 12, whoever that is, from the West Coast, maybe it's USC coming in, Oregon, in that cold weather, that's going to be, I don't know, man. I'm kind of going to take that trade-off. First, I'll have the playoff game at home in November or in December.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, I get the point. There's a disadvantage to it, but there's also, I think, an advantage that we still have that bye. It just comes before, anyway.
Right. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think in my mind, I draw a line at the total conclusion of the regular season, including those conference championship games. I think that's where my mind struggles with it. What do you want to see this weekend, man, as we wrap up here? Rooting against Kelly, rooting against USC, like rooting against Michigan? Are you on that train, or what are you doing?
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, of course I'm rooting against USC as well. I do kind of agree, though. I think USC is going to win that game. It almost every time you see a team repeat the team that lost to them or beat them, especially if that team's better, it always happens. Look what happened to us against Clemson. I mean, clearly the better quarterback on the better team, ended up beating us in the
It's
championship.
very, very hard to beat a good team twice in a year. It's very, very hard.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like Caleb Williams has just gotten better as the year goes on, and of course we saw him at his pinnacle against us. But I just think, again, John, that game was I had such a sour taste in my mouth. I'm like, these are just weird things that happen to Notre Dame fans, where you'll see a team blossom and, oh my God, they're just playing great. And you look at it, I mean, I really felt on paper we were the better team at that point. I didn't factor in Caleb Williams, though, playing that good. And because of that, I think that's what loosened up the physical aspect of our game as it wore on. When you're constantly doing that and refs will not call a hold, I don't want to say they gave up, but they ran out of steam and energy, man.
Yeah, it was tough, and I never want to think about it again.
They ran out of that energy. Yeah, they just were depleted at that point, And
yeah.
I'm not giving them excuses. I mean, Pine played well, man, but you can't have 2 turnovers like that. You just can't. I mean,
they were killers. They were killers. We had all the momentum on that drive with the fumble too. It was unfortunate. So I don't know, man. I just hope all of our people, we can relax, watch some good football this weekend. Hope some teams we don't like loses,
I'm looking forward to it.
But listen, man, I really appreciate all the thoughts and all your energy all the time, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, John, thank you too, man. I'm loving the show. I mean, I just love the show. It's so much fun. It gives me something to zero in on, and especially going through things right now here. It's just refreshing. So, yeah, man, can't wait to watch some football this weekend, just with nothing really at stake for us. It'd be kind of nice just to know that, we can relax.
Yep, I can relax, and then I just turn into a hater. I just hate watch. I just hope teams lose. That is the joy I get out of these games. Rooting for every play to go against Kelly, I'll be all about it. Michigan too, whatever. So, Rodney, enjoy it, man. You have a good one.
Yeah, you too, buddy. Take care, man.
Have a good one. Phone call crystal clear today on that phone. You cleared up that line. All right, folks, we went past 11 o'clock. Really good show today. A lot of people jumped in. There's some people still waiting. Voice is starting to get a little rough, and I have other things I need to do. I got to cut it off at 11. There isn't going to be a show tomorrow morning. Notre Dame doesn't play. I want to rest up my voice a little bit. I have some things to do before the games start. We will be back Monday morning, and I'll have an angle, and I'll put out what it's going to be, and we'll have plenty to discuss on Monday. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for the well wishes on how I'm feeling, comments about this jersey, all of it. You guys are great, man. This group is just a really solid group of nice people. I appreciate all of you. You mean the world to me. Have a good one, guys. We'll talk to you soon.